Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Flow podcast, hosted by founder Elsie Brotherton and co-hosts Reedy Dukes and Annalie Burke. Highland Yoga is an Atlanta-based hot yoga studio founded in 2015 in the quaint neighborhood of Virginia Highlands. And it's hard to wrap our minds around just how much we've grown and evolved since then. We already know our community is hooked on whatever magic is within our walls, and we want to offer you more outside of that. We can't wait to dive deep into all things yoga and wellness, but more importantly, what makes our world go round: our teachers, our devoted students, our community offerings, and more. Thanks for tuning into the podcast.
Okay, so I am feeling very sparkly and inspired from our retreat yesterday with our full-time teaching team. We had 18 yoga teachers join us down in Serenbe for a day of wellness, meditation, mindfulness, and community. And it was just incredibly special. On the podcast today, we want to chat a little bit about that experience and what we learned from it. And then we do have a really awesome guest. We're going to talk to you about her yoga journey. So yeah, Reedy, I want to hear from you. You were on the retreat. What did you think?
Yeah, so we had a pretty action-packed day. All of it was relaxing and self-care oriented, and Elsie did such a good job putting it together. So it was really special for all of our teachers who are pretty much the busiest at the studio. We were all in one place and just allowing someone else to take care of us. Malini, one of our full-time team members, led us through a sound bath experience, and that was very peaceful. We had a fountain in the background.
That sound bath was incredible. That was just one of the most magical experiences I've had in a really long time. And if you're listening, we offer sound baths at the studio pretty frequently, like twice a month or more. If you haven't been to one, go check it out. There's just something really magical. I know there's a whole science behind it, and I do want to bring on Malini to discuss the science behind sound baths just so we can understand it better. But man, that really set the tone for the day.
Yeah, she's so knowledgeable and so talented. So it was really cool for me to experience that. We also spent a good amount of time outdoors, out in the woods. We did a labyrinth walk. And I think my favorite part of the day was just getting to gather for dinner at night. Some of us stayed at a farmhouse. Elsie's friend lent us the space, but we just got some time in the yard and gathering around the dinner table, just relaxing. And we got to see our Athens team. So we were meeting a couple of them for the first time. So it was really cool just to all connect in a super casual way. And everybody got so much out of it, you could tell.
Oh yeah, I love that so much. Yeah, it was pretty surreal to see our full-time team. So these are people who work full-time for us, and mostly yoga teachers. Because everyone's teaching at different locations with totally different schedules, different days off, we don't really get together really ever in person. So we're trying to start doing that through these retreats and, curating days of self-care for our teachers who are giving so much in the studio. Because even though teaching yoga is incredibly fun and rewarding, it sometimes feels like you're just giving a lot of yourself. And that's what makes it such a, beautiful experience as a student, but it's very important to recharge and do that kind of self-care. But yeah, it was such a special day, but it was cool. Lots of crying and hugs afterwards, which, is a sign of a good yoga retreat, I would say.
Absolutely. That's what I love about our team so much. It's just, we let each other have our moments and let them pass, and there's no judgment, and we just support each other. So it was very special. Thank you, Elsie.
Oh yeah, of course. We'll do more of those for sure. Okay, cool. So on the podcast today, we have a truly inspiring guest joining us, and someone who has transitioned from student to teacher very recently. So we're going to be chatting with Cortney LaFloy, who, in addition to being a Highland Yoga teacher, is a powerhouse entrepreneur in her own right, an avid plant enthusiast, and a talented recording artist. I don't know how she does all of these things, but it's pretty incredible. She is also just one of my favorite humans. I have to say that. I feel so lucky that I got to meet Cortney through Highland Yoga. And what I love about her is that her energy is just contagious. So I am excited to catch up with her today because it has been a second and we haven't really chatted since she started teaching. So yeah, Cortney, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you. That was really great, Elsie. Thank you.
Of course.
That really
Yeah.
made me smile. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's all true. So yeah, Cortney, tell us about your yoga journey.
So I I have a funny story about my first yoga class. I used to live in Duluth and I used to go to this gym called Lifetime Fitness. It was like my saving grace. I basically lived there. It's like my second home. And I was going into the locker room after working out, and this woman had a yoga bag on, and she just looked so happy and she was bouncing. And I was like, "Where are you going?" And she was like, "I'm going to take yoga." And I was like, "Really? They have yoga here?" She was like, "Yeah, you should come." I asked no questions, and I was just like, "Okay." And I walked in the room, and it was hot yoga, and I had never taken hot yoga before, and I thought I was going to die. And I was like, "How do I get out of here? I can't do this." And then, but I'm so polite. Like I couldn't just get up and walk out. And before I knew it, the class was over. And I was like, oh, I did that. Like I finished that. So for a while, I was just doing it because it was a hard thing to do. And I finished it once, and then I finished it again and again and again. And eventually it became something that my body and my mind clearly needed and craved. And now I'm just like totally addicted, and it's just basically a part of me at this point. But that's how I came to yoga.
That's incredible. What year was that? When did you start?
2012, maybe 2012.
Okay.
I think it was. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So you've been on this journey for quite some time.
A long time. Yeah, a long time. Yoga has really enriched my life. And I think, and a lot of people don't know, well, a lot of people that I see in Highland, and the people that I've met in Highland may not know this, but I am a mom of 5 children.
What? I did not know you had 5 children.
I know. I'm a mom of 5 children and a grandmother of 4. So my oldest 2, they had children at the same time. Total coincidence. But yeah, so when I started yoga, my kids were little, and I was fresh out of a divorce, and I was a single mom working as an accountant, and that's a demanding job in itself. And so I started, basically my self-care was like, I can't fail because I have these children to take care of. Right. And so the first thing I did was basically change the way I eat, and I started working out. And it's because I was tired all the time and a bit, down on the dumps. And I knew that it was food. The quickest and easiest and most inexpensive way I could do that was change my diet and start physically becoming more active. And then yoga just kind of just crept in there and became like, instead of like, oh, a secondary thing, it became the primary thing. So I say it enriched my life, but it also enriched, through me, my children's lives.
Right. Yeah. So how did it change? Just curious, as a mom myself, how did it change your parenting style?
Well, I always tell people that the best thing I learned about yoga was breathing. And I am a high-powered, hot, no, I love, a good high-power, hot class. But to me, the best thing about yoga was the breath. And it allowed me to basically not collapse in situations of stress and duress, and to kind of help myself take a few minutes and assess before jumping in, or instead of jumping into something, to be able to breathe, take a second and assess. And I can't say that, every single time it happens, but it definitely changed the way I deal with things and handle things. And I think that in itself is what helped me as a parent. It doesn't clear up the plate or anything, but it kind of helps you manage it a little better. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Being less reactive, finding that space in between to like process and decide how to respond. Yeah. I love that so much. I feel like we tell our students a lot, like, if you're coming in, no matter what you do in your mat, as long as you're breathing mindfully for an hour, like true transformation can start right there.
Absolutely.
I think it's true.
Yeah,
I think it's true.
absolutely. I mean, anytime I discuss yoga, which I've discussed, I've gotten in an Uber in San Diego. And by the time I got out, the guy was like, I'm going to try this yoga. that's
Oh my
just how
gosh,
I
that's
am.
incredible.
He's like, oh, I'm going to try it. But yeah, I mean, I think that, the saying is yoga is for everybody. And I think it's the breath, if I could teach my grandparents to breathe, then I have taught them yoga. If I can teach my, 4-year-old grandson to breathe, I've taught him yoga. So breathing is that's it. You can have the moves down, but actually you won't get the moves down if you don't have the breath down. So
I love that so much. Do your kids do yoga yet?
Some of them. So right before the pandemic, I was taking my youngest to what would be deep stretch at Highland Yoga, and they loved it. And then the pandemic just ruined everything at that point. And so 2 of my daughters have done high power flow, and my oldest absolutely hates hot yoga, but she loves deep stretch. So whatever. It's like for me, my youngest daughter. So I have 4 daughters, and my youngest is a boy. So I have 4 girls and a boy. And my youngest daughter, she doesn't practice yoga, or she doesn't think she practices yoga, but she's always asking me for breathing techniques and different little techniques to help her deal with her anxiety and stress. So she, secretly I have her doing yoga in a different way. So they all they all have pulled something from it. If they don't have a physical practice, a consistent physical practice, they've all gotten something from it, if that makes sense.
It totally does. That's really, really cool. So tell us about your Highland Yoga journey. When did you start practicing with us?
Oh gosh, as soon as it was like the pandemic, well, it's never over, is it? But as soon as it was like, okay, you can go back out, I moved to Decatur. And I honestly, Elsie, I don't know how I found Highland Yoga. I must have just done a Google search. I don't remember, but I just remember like, oh, there's a yoga studio in my, relatively in my neighborhood. Let me go. And basically I've been going ever since. So it was like a one and done deal.
Well, we're very grateful to have you in our community. So, okay, you started practicing with us. And then when did you decide to do your teacher training?
So before the pandemic, a couple years before the pandemic, I was still working in the corporate world. I'm an accountant. And for years and years and years, I said I could do this on my own. I used to work for a consulting company, and I realized then, oh, maybe I can do this on my own. And it was always in the back of my head that I could do this. I took on a client here or there. And then I got a job where for the first time ever, I was like, this is cool. I can stay here. And I got laid off for the very first time in my life, which I take it as a sign that I got too comfortable and let go of what I was really meant to do. So when I got laid off, I basically went head first into trying to sustain my own business and my accounting business. So I started my accounting business. Within that, I said, well, wouldn't it be cool if I did accounting and I taught yoga? And so I was going to do yoga teacher training, but I was really fortunate that my accounting business really took off. So I didn't have the time to actually do it. And I was like, well, there's no rush because right now my accounting business is doing well. Let me get this settled first, and then we'll deal with that later. Fast forward to Highland Yoga, and then I find out they're doing a teacher training, and I'm like, I really want to do this. And so I kind of went back and forth, and I just put a deposit down, and I was like, well, I guess you're in now because I did the deposit. Yeah, basically I was like, make yourself honest. And I put the deposit down to make myself do it. And I was still a bit nervous, but I had come to a decision that I was going to basically do the scary things that year because I had put my life on hold during the pandemic. I was going to jump into things that I wanted to do, even if I still had a bit of fear or like, I don't know. I was just going to do it. And I think my yoga teacher training might have been the first thing that I like jumped head first in.
That's incredible. Why were you scared of yoga teacher training?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I think people use that phrase imposter syndrome, and you just feel like, well, maybe I'm not ready to teach someone else, and just because I'm good at it, you just start thinking these things, and I'm trying to, and I still, it's still a work in progress, but I tell myself, well, of course you can do it. You've been practicing, and then whatever you can't do, you're going to learn. That's what the training is for. You're going to learn it. So I just, I think it was just a little bit of, I can be in my head a bit too much.
Yeah, I mean, I think imposter syndrome is like very real.
Yeah, it is very real.
Yeah, and for sure. And the other thing about teaching yoga that's really interesting is like, teaching yoga is a really different skill set from practicing yoga. So you can have the strongest practice, practice at home, know your body, know your everything. And then it's like learning another language when you get on your feet to try to teach.
Oh my gosh.
And I think that's always actually really alarming for people when they start training. And for us, as you know, we try to get people on their feet teaching day one, so that you can start using your voice and like learning that new language and becoming proficient in it. But, a lot of people have to kind of check their ego because, you think you do know your practice, and it's a big part of your life. And then you try to teach and it's just completely different. And it does take practice. And what I have found from doing the teacher trainings for over 9 years now, like for every single person who comes through the program, it's not a question of if they can teach, it's a question of when. And the question of when is driven by, really how many hours, how much work can you put into practicing teaching?
Exactly.
So yeah, it's kind of crazy, but I mean, I'm so glad you did the program, and I'm very excited that you are officially teaching.
Yes, I can't believe it. It's like, wow.
Well, yeah, congratulations on your first class. Tell me
you.
about that experience. What was that like, teaching your first yoga class?
It was great. Of course, it's a new thing, right? So I'm a little nervous in the beginning, but I mean, it just was a great experience. To walk in the room and see everyone relaxed and waiting for me to guide them and trusting me to guide them. It just felt really good. I'm a person that's in my head a lot. And for the first time, I was like, I just did it. And for that moment, I was not in my head in that way. I just went with it. And it felt intuitive. It felt, this is where you're supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to be doing. And it just felt comfortable, and it just felt right. It was just a wonderful experience. I mean, I'm still floating off of that experience and excited for the upcoming class.
You get to do it every week.
Yes. I mean, it's just like, wow, when you plan for something and you work at something and you finally see it in real life, is something. It's really amazing.
Okay, I just got chills listening to you describe this experience. That's so beautiful, Cortney. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you to
and
continue.
Also,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I just want to say that to be able to do this at Highland Yoga is like, I've had the most wonderful experience at Highland Yoga. And I didn't realize my first class that a lot of my life and well-being and happiness and would be so much associated with the people of teachers and fellow students that I've met at Highland Yoga. I mean, it's just been just a completely fulfilling experience. And so to be able to teach at Highland Yoga, it's just absolutely amazing for me. And I'm just so privileged to be a part of such a wonderful organization.
We are just incredibly lucky to have you, honestly. And I just can't wait to watch your teaching journey. I think it's going to be really fun to watch. And I hope I get to come and practice with you too. Yeah, it was really cool. After Cortney's first class, we got a message from a student just talking about how life-changing Cortney's class was, which I thought was incredibly powerful. Wait, I want to try to pull it up and read it. Cortney, would that be weird?
No, go ahead.
I'm going to do it. I want to read it for Reedy and at least, but also for everyone.
Yeah, I want to hear it. And Cortney's such a fun student to have in class too. Like, I just look forward to when you have your essential oils that you put
yes.
on your mat.
my little kit.
Just love walking past you. It's an experience.
That's amazing. Okay, so this was the message we got from a student. This was one of the best yoga classes I've ever taken. Cortney's teaching style is just what I needed. At one point, I found myself tearing up because I was so grateful for her. The music was so good. Her coaching and instructing style were perfect for someone like me who doesn't take yoga classes often, but appreciates the practice. Thank you so much. That is incredible, Cortney.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, I just love it. And when I started doing better for myself, I told you the story about my children and just eating better and all this stuff. I just wanted everybody to feel the way I felt. And, I know my family was just like, okay, Cortney, okay. But it's just like, it's like, I wanted everyone to like have the best that they could have, because it's just hard for me to experience something great and not want to give it to someone else. So that, that really means a lot that someone took that, and felt that way. It really means a lot.
It's very cool. Okay, so she mentioned your music.
Yes.
I don't know what playlist you use for your class, but I do know that you're a musician.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So music has always been a saving grace for me since I was really, 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 really little, like really little. As a young girl, I had a record player and I used to play 45s and I used to listen to jazz, all kind of crazy stuff for like a 5-6-year-old. And so when I was a kid, my dad, that was our treat for good grades, was the record store basically. And so with yoga, what I really love about, especially with deep stretch, because I'm a very like emotional, feely type person. And so I really enjoy being able to curate a playlist that actually has some type of like sensory. I can feel it and I know other people will feel it. And it's very intentional. And, I really enjoy that piece. And as an artist myself, it's just something that it's just natural to me. If I'm going to put some music together, I'm going to, put a lot of thought and feeling into it. So, so that's very much, I guess, a piece of my class, as much as the postures and, my speaking is.
Well, I know, but you also make music. You're
Yes,
a
I do.
artist.
Yes.
That's what I want to hear about.
Yes.
Yeah. So when do you find time to do your music?
I don't know. It's just like, I just carve out, like, I just do it. It's funny. I just had a release come out and I didn't even know it was out because I was so focused on yoga until somebody mentioned it. And I was like, oh, I better post something, because I had no clue it was out. But yeah, I make music. So
can we play the release? Can we play that release on the podcast?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'm going to play it right now.
Okay.
That's amazing, Cortney. I'm blown away. I cannot believe that you're making this amazing music in your spare time.
Yes.
Where can people find you on Spotify? What's your Spotify name?
It's under my name, Cortney, Cortney. So it's Cortney without the U, and LaFloy, LaFloy, which is my actual middle name, and it's the name of my great aunt. So I was named after my great aunt, and that's my real middle name. So I go by Cortney LaFloy. And basically, you could just find me on any Apple Music. I'm on iTunes. I'm on Spotify. I'm on any streaming site. If you look at my name, you can find my stuff. I may even pop up on Pandora. So
Very cool.
Yeah. So I make dance music. So that's another thing I do. I like to dance. And within the circle or it's house music community. So I'm originally from Chicago, and house music is really, really like the heartbeat of Chicago. And it's migrated all over at this point. But in my circle of people who like to go to house music parties, I'm known to walk in the door and to start dancing, and then the lights come on, and then I stop, and then I go home. It's basically how it happens. And I love it. Dance is another form of therapy for me. And so I was fortunate through a series of events to be able to start making house music. And my first release was on a label here in Atlanta called Tambor, which is basically where I got my given family, the family that you pick up along the way. A lot of that is from that. And then it just kept going and going and going. And I have become friends with a lot of people in the house music community that I idolized. It's been a surreal experience. And I just have these, I keep saying this, but it's absolutely true. Like, I'm so grateful for these things that have happened in my life that have been like, it just happened, like, and I've been really blessed. So I write all my music, all the releases I've written myself, which I'm very proud of. And so, yeah, I just keep making music, and people keep sending me awesome music. I get to work with like these really like legendary, talented producers. It's just, it's just amazing. It's amazing.
That's so cool. Okay, can we do a yoga house music collaboration at some point?
Girl, yes. You just need to tell me when.
You gotta do that. Reedy.
First, I have so many ideas.
Reedy's our community manager, so she's here to take notes. So, Reedy, let's get it going.
I'm on it.
Yeah, I have so many ideas. I will definitely reach out to Reedy because I have so many ideas. Definitely.
Yes, let's do it. Thank you so much for sharing all this. So I've got 2 final questions for you.
Okay.
First question, what are your top 3 tips for new yoga students?
For new yoga students,
Mm-hmm.
to listen to your body is the most important. I know yoga for a new student can be very intimidating because you walk into a class with people that you feel like, oh, they're experts at this, and me, I don't know what I'm doing. And really, it's about you. And even the people that look like experts, it's just about them and their brain, right? It's about what they can do with their body. And sometimes you may catch someone on a wonderful day and they have all the balance in the world and they have all the poise in the world, but that doesn't mean that their practice looks like that all the time. So listen to your body and give it what it needs. And if you need to take a break, you take a break. If you need a prop, you grab a prop, because there's no, you're supposed to do it this way. The supposed to is what your body calls for. And so your body will tell you what you need, and that is what you listen to. You said 3 though.
Well, that's good. Those
Yeah.
are good. Okay, my last question. Do you have any tips for new yoga teachers who are just coming out of teacher training or who are starting to teach?
I say practice in your body. I guess it's kind of like the same thing as know your body. Practice in your body, because you could have something on paper that sounds really good, but it might not feel the same way. So anything that you do, see how it feels on your mat before you ask someone else to do that. Yeah. And I think that's really important. And intuitively, if you've practiced yoga, when you start to do that, I think you'll find that your sequence will kind of come together, because your body, again, is kind of the same thing. Your body will tell you, oh, it likes to move here after this. And the way you teach, the Highland Yoga teaches yoga, is so brilliant and so intuitive that I would tell teachers to practice, especially if you're a teacher at Highland Yoga. If you're starting new, but if you're starting anywhere, practice it as much as you can, because that is when you'll get it, is when you feel it in your own body. Then you can teach someone else. you have the technicals down, what to say and how to guide and how to lead, but practicing it in your own body will help you teach someone else in theirs.
That's really good. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for joining us today. It has been awesome to hear your story and to hear your voice and to catch up. So Cortney teaches at Highland Yoga Westside on Sundays at 6:15?
6:15, yes.
6:15 p.m. Yeah. So go to her class. It will be life-changing.
Thank you so much for having me on here. I love Highland Yoga. I'm all things Highland Yoga. So
that makes two of us, probably three of us, if we're counting Reedy here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. She might do other things outside of Highland Yoga. That's awesome. Okay, so I want to close out this podcast with a quote. It's by Caroline Adams. Your life is a sacred journey. It is about change, growth, movement, transformation, continuously expanding your vision of what is possible, stretching your soul, learning to see clearly and deeply, listening to your intuition, taking courageous challenges at every step along the way. You are on the path, exactly where you are meant to be right now. And from here, you can only go forward, shaping your life story into a magnificent tale of triumph, of healing, of courage, of beauty, of wisdom, power, of dignity, and of love. Thank you everyone for joining us. Yeah, that's good stuff. I hope you have a great week, everybody, and we will see you back next time.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay. See y'all.
Bye, Reedy.
See you later.
Bye.